Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I'm back from holiday and I thought a good video to get back into the swing of things would be taking a look at a little package that AK Interactive had sent me so I can take a look at their real colour markers. This is their new paint pens. Now the folks over at AK kindly got in touch with me and just asked me if I'd be interested in having a look at these and trying them out. Now I have tried paint pens in the past, and after reading the marketing material they sent over, I came back and said, well, yeah, actually, I would be fairly interested in having a look at them and just trying them out. So what I thought that they'd do is send over maybe one or two pens to try out. I definitely didn't think that they would send over the entire set. So this is a rather nice box. It contains all 34 pens in the line. As you can see, it comes almost a little bit like a nice box of chocolates in layers in this sort of nice foam presentation case. Now, just to sort of give you an idea, I thought it would be fairly straightforward, just to sort of read the blurb that comes with these. And the idea behind these acrylic paint markers is that there's a special formulation for modelling, and that the paint has a perfect grip on plastic, resin, metal, and wooden surfaces that's resistant to water and heat, and can be applied in layers like any other modelling paint. So it's really similar to their 3G paint line, except the pen is just a different way of applying it. So I've used paint pens in the past and they always have a little sort of ball inside them to shake, and sometimes the application can be a bit weird. Now there is no ball inside these pens at all, and the applicator is essentially this sort of sponge-like material which is formed into a nice nib, and that means it kind of goes back to the way that it was originally after you've used it. It's fairly accurate, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but what I'm going to do, I thought it'd be an idea just to show you how some of these paints actually perform when put over things like a black undercoat and a white undercoat. So here you can see I'm using the flat white, and I've just primed a base here with a black undercoat, and I'm just applying this straight on. Now if you're using the tip of the pen, obviously there's less paint comes out, and it's for more, I use the term precision loosely, but for more accurate work, and you can get some fair amount of detail on here, but we'll talk about that all a little bit later. If you use the side of the pen, then you will be able to cover far more. I was quite interested to see how well the black went on, obviously over a white undercoat, and as you can see, it's almost like using a Sharpie. The coverage is good, it comes out in a nice sort of solid black mass, and to be honest, after doing this, a single coat over a white undercoat I felt was all that was needed on the black. Now, using this colour, which is signal red, over a white undercoat, you can see that you get very good coverage. Over the black, I feel like you're going to need another application, which should be fairly straightforward, and it might even be two thin coats, as it were. Now, the real hero for me in this set, and you're going to hear me going on about this, is this yellow RAL, and I absolutely love this. I mean, look how smooth that goes on over the white. And just to give you an idea, when you actually put it over another colour once it's dried, you can see it. You can layer things together quite nicely. So here are all 34 pens together. There's a good variation of colours here, although most of them obviously are based around military modelling, so tanks, aeroplanes, vehicles, things like that. There aren't any flesh colours, which I will talk about later, but I'm hoping that if this line is successful, that maybe they will sort of branch out a bit in the future. So I thought the best way to basically show these off and to have a play with them would be to basically paint something or colour it in. So here is one of the 15mm tanks from Battlefront that I've basically slowly been working on for my British Desert Forces. Now I've already undercoated this in a sort of a sandy colour, and I did that quite a while ago, but here I'm using the pen colour buff, and as you can see, I'm just colouring it in. I'm using the tip of the brush to get into all the sort of the nooks and crannies, and then when I want to cover sort of the panels in a sort of a more efficient way, I use the side of the brush, and the coverage is really good. Now obviously this is over a fairly similar undercoat, which I would always undercoat models some people do like going over unprimed models. I personally don't. It gives me chest pains when I see people do that. So I just went over the whole thing using these pens, and then I came back and I decided to use the olive grün color to do the camo. Now I just painted on I drew on some rough guides for this, just so I could kind of, you know, give myself some orientation on the model, and then just went about applying the paint in exactly the same way as I did the general first layer. Now it does go over the other layers pretty well. You can shift the paint around for a little while it's still wet. Now, one of the things that you're going to notice about these very quickly, you're not going to be able to do certain effects with these. Now, while you can base coat and you can do things well, like edge highlighting using the side of the applicator, you're not going to be able to do things like dry brushing. After I'd used that olive grün, I went back and used this Mitsubishi interior green to basically just do sort of a highlight layer within the camo. Now, I'm not the best person at painting tanks, and don't even get me started on whether or not these are the right colors. I'm sure someone down in the comments will tell me they're not, but I don't put a great deal of effort into my tanks. Now, sort of colouring this thing in hasn't really taken that long. Now, even though I'm editing this and I've sort of cut it a little bit, colouring in this tank has only taken me about 5 minutes, and I've come back and used the gunmetal colour to do the machine gun on the top, the spare tracks, bits of the tools on the back, and then also you'll see that I do the tracks. That would be all I would normally do on a tank, and I do feel that the time saved really does sort of make a bit of a difference. After that, I've just slapped a dark tone wash over the whole thing. I'd probably come back and do a little bit of weathering, maybe some weathering pigments at the very end, but as far as I'm concerned, that's about it. Now, one of the main things I'm interested in using these pens for is obviously figure painting. Now, this is one of my 54mm Ragged Staff miniatures. This is a test model for the next set of 54mm ones that are coming out. And I'm using the dark aluminium colour here, which I thought was a brilliant colour for sort of the dark armours that you get in the 15th century. Run a black wash of some kind over this and it's going to look awesome. I was really impressed with the way this goes on. Now, there are a range of metallics, which means that doing edge highlighting is quite easy. Now, here are the models that I've been playing around with over the last few weeks. So, as you can see, I painted the tank, which you can see here, and here it is all dry. And I'm pretty pleased with this. As I say, put on a couple of decals, do some weathering pigments, and that's that. I'm perfectly happy. I did find it quicker than using a brush because, of course, you're not loading paint all the time, you're not mixing it. Do I think it's different to painting with a brush or a groundbreaking? Not particularly. It's just another way of applying the paint. Now, if you've been watching the channel, you'll know I've been working on the epic Punic Wars figures from Warlord Games, and I did a lot of these with these pens. Now, the things that for me that are missing from this range are a brass or gold colour, and certainly the fleshes. However, all of the chainmail on here, the spears, even the reds on the tunics there, those have all been done with these pens, and it did make doing strips of models like this a lot quicker, especially when it came to doing the weapons. It can just be quite fiddly sometimes trying to get the large nib of the pen where you want it to go, and that'll bring me on to the sort of the detail work. It's really hard to do detail work on here, but if you're looking at sort of large applications or large areas like on these knights, where you can see I've used a yellow, and the yellow for me is the real hero of this set. That yellow pen is going to be used all the time on my miniatures. So all of these knights were painted very basically with contrast paints. I put a dark wash over everything, and then I've just used the aluminium color, the blue Raoul color, and the yellow Raoul color, and I've used those to do highlights, and I'm really pleased. They went on really easily, and especially when painting small models, I found using the pens a little bit easier and a little bit less time consuming. Now, here's some 28mm miniatures. Now, I painted these were done with a basic undercoat, some white contrast, and everything else with the exception of the flesh has been done with the pens. Now, it allowed me to get some very, very basic highlights on these miniatures very, very quickly. And that leads me to feel that for people who aren't necessarily bothered about, you know, doing display level miniatures and just getting things on the table, these pens could be an alternative way for you to get things done quickly. Certainly people who maybe struggle with paintbrushes or struggle holding them or get cramped, the pens are a lot easier to hold and you do have a lot of control. My only issue with the pens is the accuracy for detail work. Now, I would hope that if this line is successful, that maybe AK could look at producing some accurate pens that could be used for detail work, and I would definitely be interested in some flesh washes. So that would be really, really cool to see. The whole set of 34 pens is really, really nice. Now, if AK hadn't sent me all 34, would I buy all 34? Probably not. The 34 pen set is going to set you back €70, which is about £60, but they do sell them individually, and I think they work out about £2 each, but they also sell them in sets of 3. For example, you'll get one for the interior tanks or for signal markings, things like that, and they all cost you about £5. I think those are a great way to add an additional tool to your paint sets, and I could see these actually becoming a staple in lots of people's painting. Just if, for example, if they release a flesh set or an armor set, then I'd be all over these. That being said, I must say thank you to AK for sending these over. You are going to hear about these more on the channel as I paint up more things and where I use them. I would definitely be sharing those with you guys, but this yellow is fantastic and is basically my new best friend out of this set. I will share with you more painting I've done with these in the future. If you've got any questions, please drop them down below. What do you guys think of them? I know there's been a few videos out there on them now, but are you convinced you're going to have a go with them, or do you just think they're just colourful posh Sharpies? I've got to say, they don't smell as nice as Sharpies, but I am very impressed with them, and I will be using these in the future in my paint jobs going forward. Something which I haven't got around to trying them on yet, which I am going to be doing a lot of, is terrain. I think these would be pretty good, especially at doing things like timber frame buildings, at picking out the edge highlighting and maybe even a bit of the wood grain detail. So I will have a go at doing that, and then I will report back to you on how that went. So we will see how that goes. Anyway guys, it's just a quick video today, so I hope that you're all keeping well and I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, just stay tuned for more videos, more battle reports and more things coming in the future. As I said before, if you've got any questions at all, just drop them down below, and I'll see you all again in the next one.